ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Happy Hanukkah! Festive Kwanzaa! Wonderful winter solstice! Ramadan? Let's have some fun!
Ooh. Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101, 12 Nights of Christmas. Promoter 101. 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 Get out of here. Promoter 101.
Hi, this is Vince Bannon on Promoter 101.
So Christmas is behind us. It's over. It's Promoter 101, 12 Days of Christmas, special, surprise, spectacular, with all the interviews and the hubbub and everything. We're running through the 31st with a new interview every day. And joining me right now to unveil who our guest is, Mr. Luke Pierce.
Dan, thank you very much. The holidays are indeed behind us. However, the spirit of Christmas remains. It's day 7 of Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas. Today, we're going to be joined by Argus Security's Mike Fruitman, taking us on the ropes and keeping the peace from the barricade of a sold-out death metal show to the courtside of an N.B.A. game. Very excited about that interview today, Dan.
Hi, this is Heath Miller.
Becca Leifer.
Ed Mike Cohn.
Derek Dimmenstein.
Jason Kupperman.
Jason Miller.
John Schur.
Marcia Flessick.
Mike Fruitman. Ricardo Bacco.
Peter Schwartz.
Nick Storch.
I'm on Promoter 101.
Promoter 101.
I'm on Promoter 101.
We continue our world tour. Catch us when we come to a town near you.
Next on deck for Promoter 101 will be live at the FlyCon conference in the Big Easy, New Orleans, January 16th at 2 p.m. We'll be recording Promoter 101 live with a special guest from Locken and the Brooklyn Bowl, Mr. Peter Shapiro. Looking forward to it, Dan.
Yeah, and you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at The Jew. The show's at Promoters 101, and it's plural, Promoters with an S, 101. And you can always catch Luke at W. Luke Pierce.
Of course, it's Dan and I talking every week. You hear enough of us, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're ready to listen. Send us an email with your ideas to steiny@promoter101.net. We can't wait to hear what's on your mind, and we give you our sworn promise to respond to every inquiry in a timely manner because you matter to us.
Hey, what's going on? This is Bubbles.
This is Julian.
And this is Ricky.
You're listening to Promoter 101.
It's day 7 of Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas, and today we're excited to be joined by Argus Security's Mike Fruitman. He's a longtime security vet, keeping the peace at everything from death metal concerts to punk rock shows to N.B.A. games courtside. This guy has seen it all. He's got some serious war stories, almost quite literally, on today's podcast, and we're excited to join him for the 7th day, Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas.
Promoter 101, hanging out with Mike Fruitman. I can't remember a concert that you weren't at in my days growing up in Colorado going to rock shows. If it happened in Denver, you were in charge. Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
No, this is an honor. I've been a long-time listener, first time on the air.
So I've always known you. You were the staple in this market for me.
Small cog, big machine. It's one of those things where I'm lucky to do this. I was a concert addict. So I've always had this in my life where going to shows was a big thing, and to be able to be part of the event. I understand I'm a flea on the tail of this entire industry, which is fine with me. I don't want to be more involved, but to be part of a show's success has always been something that's been a challenge and fun for me.
Dude, I think that's bullshit. I think that security is what makes shows work. They keep the audience not only comfortable and safe and protected, but they are our first line of communication with the patrons. You guys set the tone for the day, and you guys are out there no matter how rude, mean, and just disruptive the audience is, particularly the older crowds that have money that just don't care, that feel you're there to serve them. You guys are out there fucking making sure that the kids are safe, and the industry wouldn't work without you guys.
I agree completely, but I also understand our role. I mean, hey, even the guys who do loadout, they get T-shirts and we don't. Which is okay. I mean, I understand they got to be, targeted to the trucks and all. It's fun. I enjoy the challenge of a show. I mean, we've got Summer Jam coming up, and I joke that my favorite words in the English language are lights up at Summer Jam, because I've gotten through it. I have no more additional holes than when I got there. And as much as I may not look forward to the show, it's the challenge of it. It's getting a crew together. It's getting up to 18,000 people in, making sure that they don't bring all the extras in, and, making sure that everybody gets home. I want people focused on the event and the time that they had there. there, not focused on security. I joke that security guards are like offensive linemen. The only time you ever hear our name is when we mess up.
And 9 times out of 10, it really wasn't you guys that fucked up. You're covering our asses.
And with a last name like mine, I prefer to keep my name out of things.
Fruitman?
Yeah, that's one of those challenge names. I've got an initial ring with it's Mike Fruitman, and you can figure out the initials. So I've got an awesome set of initials, but I've got one of those quirky, weird last names that when somebody asks my last name at a show, I am very glad to not give it to them.
Do you have a different name that you use?
I used to tell everybody I was John Anderson, and they'd go, that's the lead singer's name from Yes. I'm like, yeah, I get that a lot. I'd turn my ring backwards, and they'd see the back of it in a band of gold, not the initials. The office would get a call the next morning about some horrible person named John Anderson who made their night less fun.
You've seen almost everybody. You don't necessarily get to see the entire show or even all of it or any of it, sometimes depending on where you're stationed or what you're dealing with on a show. But you can pretty much hear everything, and you've been in the arena or the stadiums for pretty much every major act that's played the market.
So on Facebook, every once in a while, there's a deal where you can click on all the bands you've seen. And up until recently, I think I got to 96 of them. I couldn't see Elvis. I missed him. And didn't see Joplin, didn't see Hendrix, and I didn't see Queen. But they came through a couple weeks ago. So now I'm down to 3. So if there's some sort of zombie plague, I can knock out the last 3.
Let's talk about the venues that you're working now on the regular. Can you name some names?
At this point, pretty much my 2 mains are Fiddler's Green Amphitheater and Pepsi Center.
Okay, so those are some pretty big houses. Throughout the years, you've pretty much covered every major concert venue from clubs to stadiums in this market.
If it's in Denver or Colorado, I've found myself probably there at one time or another.
Behind a barricade.
Behind the barricade, behind Chuck's old barricade. There was a guy, Chuck Grant, who is fabled in this Denver area. And his barricade was construction scaffolding, and we would tie it together each night. And there would be not 2x4s, but just flat sheet wood.
That was what you guys used to use at the Gothic for the psychedelic zombie shit. Well, everything at the Gothic, right?
Lord Groove and the psychedelic zombies, yes.
My high school days just flashing before me. Yeah, that was an interesting barricade, to say the least.
It was light. It was very easy to carry around, and there were times that they'd pull on the top of it, and I'd think that the whole thing was going to splinter, but I don't remember it ever coming apart.
It was a tragic loss that we lost Chuck in the past year, and I think the industry was greatly built by Chuck, particularly in this market, but respected internationally as one of the big guys that knew how to keep a show together and keep an audiences cool no matter what.
Yeah, when he was there, everything was going to work. Everything was going to be fine. No matter what the moment presented, it was going to work out. He was going to figure it out.
He was a rough but gentle hand. He growled enough to make you not want him to bite you.
You knew you were in his circle if he yelled at you. Because that would mean he'd care. He thought that you could improve. If he didn't yell at you, then he just didn't care about you.
He must have loved the shit out of me, then.
He loved you deeply.
Let's talk about who you would call the best 5 shows that you've seen, whether you were working or not.
The first one that comes to mind, you're going to laugh, is Rick Springfield. Now, it's not because Rick Springfield blew everybody away, but I was filling out a police report for somebody who did something naughty. And somebody texted me that my son was on stage during Don't Talk to Strangers with Rick Springfield. And I laughed because he wasn't wearing the jacket that I thought he was wearing. And I said, is he wearing a blue? And he said he wasn't. And when I got back down and my friend had taken video of my son dancing around with Rick Springfield on stage singing Don't Talk to Strangers, a song that he had never heard probably until that evening. Thankfully, the chorus is an easy get. There was a night that I got assigned to walk around with Peyton Manning at not the Joshua Tree U2 show, but the last time they came through town, escorting him to and from the bathroom. The show was great, but hanging out with Peyton Manning, I guess, was a little bit cooler. Better than that, there was a Neil Diamond show in 1990 at McNichols, and I had to clear out an entire row of people who had they said their tickets were lost, and they got replaced tickets, so there were 24 people in a row of 12. So that was an interesting evening. I'm trying to think of other things. We had the Salt and Pepper show back in, I think it was 93 or 94. It was during the Denver Summer of Violence. They literally tabbed it the Summer of Violence out here. And it was just a crazy, crazy show. Stabbing. I remember at one point being on a set of stairs, And to my right were 20 gentlemen wearing red bandanas, and to my left there were about 18 gentlemen wearing green bandanas, and I could tell they weren't getting along. So I remember, just walking up thinking, okay, I can quell this, not thinking, because my gang experience is obviously long and drawn out, but looking at the guys, and I remember thinking to myself, this is exactly the white guy that Arsenio Hall imitates and makes fun of, as I told everybody to, please enjoy the show. Hey, we're not here to fight. And I'm 6'4", and I weighed a little bit less at the time. I'll put myself at like 230, but not a single person from either group looked at me because I wasn't going to be stabbing either one of them. I wasn't going to be ruining anybody's evening. So that was an interesting night. And then I guess the other one is kind of a lingering thing. We had a show at Fiddler's Green where MXPX called the crowd down.
Come join them on stage, right?
The crowd basically came off the lawn. I mean, it was kind of they were a mid-afternoon show. So there may have been 3,000 or 4,000 in the house, and pretty much most of the lawn took them up on their generous offer. And in the process, I tore my ACL. So that's the worst thing that's happened to me working shows. And later on that winter, when I was still on crutches, they came back through. Now, the Violent Femmes were the headliner that day. And after I got diagnosed with a probably torn ACL, if I was a Bronco, of course, they could have put me in the tube and figured it out right away. But, a security guard gets an MRI 2 weeks later, a month later. But I came back, enjoyed the Violent Femmes. But later that year, MXPX was touring. And I remember crutching up to them at the Ogden Theater, asking them how their tour was. And having a little chat, and they go, hey, what happened to you? I said, there was a band that played a concert this summer at this venue I work at, and they called everybody down to the stage, and in the process, I tore my ACL, and I asked them if they were making a lot of money on the tour, and they kind of go, why are you mentioning this? And at that point, I said, well, I really appreciate you guys ruining my last 6 months, and I look forward to all the rehab I'll get to do as a result. So you guys make a lot of money on this tour, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon, perhaps in court.
Did you sue MXPX?
No, I wasn't going to sue them. I mean, I'd have
just
to
wanted to let them know there was penalties to the reality of the things that they do on stage.
I hope I made them sweat a little bit, but I'm not going to sue them because then I got to sue the promoter. I got to sue everybody. And you know what? It was annoying. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I had a really cool physical therapist, so that was an upside.
You've worked with every kind of band there is to imagine. Barry Fay was the guy that ran this town for all those shows at Big Mac for years. What are the things when you think about the career you've had that stand out to you?
I think everybody has their getting to meet Barry story. I'm sure you have as well. Mine was kind of like a freshman initiation. I was running the backstage lot at Red Rocks. It's not very glamorous. There's about 25 parking spots, but they're very exact. And the guy at the bottom of the hill thought he'd take advantage of the rook. So he calls me up and he goes, hey, this blue 450 SLC convertible, I will never forget that car, just drove past me and didn't stop and didn't show his pass. Well, everybody in the venue except for the new guy knows that that's Barry Fay. So I walk up to the car, and the guy stays on the radio. It keeps keying the mic so nobody else can get in. So I walk up. I'm like, hi, sir, can I see your pass, please? Barry says, I'm Barry fucking Fay. Well, that's nice, sir. Can I see your pass, please? I mean, everybody else has a pass. Surely Barry Fay would have a pass. Mr. Fay, can I see your pass, or can I see your pass, please? What's your fucking name and who's your fucking supervisor? And, well, as I'm getting closer to the car and leaning in a wee bit, my fucking name is Mike. My fucking supervisor's name is Beth. Now, I'm guessing that kind of goes outside of company protocol, but it seemed appropriate at the time. And just then, there were two ladies who were in charge of the venue. There was Linda and Nancy, and they had incredible timing as one grabbed me by one arm, as I remember, and the other one grabbed me by the other and led me away. And they said, we like you, which is why we're dragging you away from Barry Fay. And I said, oh, yeah, that was probably Barry. And they go, yeah, we're going to put you inside the house, probably at the top. And if you ever get to talk to Barry again, let's be nicer.
Probably a good call. I'm guessing you got to talk to him again.
I did. He actually went to my temple. He was the only person who would show up on high holidays in corduroy shorts. And man could pull it off.
Did you guys ever joke about it?
We did. It came back about so many years later. There was somebody who was trying to get backstage, and it was Fiddler's Green. It was right by the VIP room that was open to the public. And I'm explaining, look, sir, I'll take your note back for you. You've been yelling at my guy. Let's try to be nice here. And I said, I'll take your note back to whoever, but I'm not going to simply walk you back there. And Barry looked in on the situation and said, hey, if the guy isn't fucking nicer to you, then leave him the fuck alone. Like, okay, well, sir, if you're not going to be nicer to you, I guess I'm going to leave you alone. It wasn't a complete balance, but it was nice that he threw one in for me.
Curious, you worked my early shows like the Mercury Cafe, the Ozatlan Theater. Like we had some rough shows as I was learning my way.
I never worked the alternative shows. I never did the punk scene until I started working. I got dropped by one company and got on fortunately with Chuck and Tom Smith. So I got on with them, and I remember the first show I worked was something at the Gothic. For the life of me, I'd never tell you who it was. But I'd never really seen a mosh pit before. There wasn't YouTube. So my idea of watching a concert on TV was like Live Aid or something, and obviously that didn't get out of control. I remember the pit started, and I ran in, and I just grabbed one guy, and I'm like, hey, it's got to stop. What are we talking, like 1993? And the guy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. What are you doing? He goes, we're just moshing. I was like, okay, well, obviously tonight's concert didn't come with a recommendation course of action, so...
That wasn't in a security meeting, or there wasn't a security meeting?
Well, I think I just kind of missed it. They just were like, okay, well, he's big, we'll throw him down up front, and I clearly hadn't been introduced to that at McNichols.
And you've worked so many shows, everybody just assumed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't mosh at McNichols. I mean, it was all...
No.
Yeah. We had a few mosh shows, but nothing too active.
I assume you worked the Pantera, White Zombie, Red Rock shows.
I did.
If you've seen Red Rocks, you know the rake of the incline is insane. So if someone tried to surf or mosh, they were going to get fucked up. That crowd, there had to be some of that.
They figured it out. These guys are incredible. I mean, the steps at Red Rocks, they're double steps. When you take the steps on the side, they're 2 steps to every row.
Right.
And we're like, these guys aren't going to be able to mosh, or it's just going to be like, they're just going to be falling all over the place. But they nailed it. I mean, they knew where the rows were.
Were they surfing it?
Yeah, there was definitely surfing. And then I'm watching these guys, and they'd make a right turn, and they'd go up a full step and just go with the flow. It was incredible.
We're just bands, and I know like Anthrax has done Red Rocks, and you're just like, man, that may be too rough.
There was one. It was Anthrax, Slayer, and 2 other bands. Somehow or another, they just found a way to make it work. I mean, they weren't tripping on each other, and we expected the worst. I got to run in a pit and grab guys with broken ankles or whatever. But yeah, they nailed it. I was impressed. Props to the Anthrax and White Zombie crew.
Any memorances of doing early shows where security was late and it was a small Mercury Cafe setting or something that might be fun?
I've got all pleasant memories of the Mercury, except for during the summer. They wouldn't let us pop the doors. So that thing I know it was cooking 100 degrees in there. We couldn't get the windows going. We just had garbage in town the other day. And I remember going in early for one show. And there was Shirley Manson just sitting at a table having dinner. And I'm like, that's incredible. She's just sitting right there, in 20 minutes. And it was only like, we were trying to figure this out the other night. How many people, okay, legitimately, how many people could you throw up at the Merc? Was it 300, 400?
I think the legal was like 10 or something with no chairs, open floor completely.
And that would bounce. I mean, you'd stand in front of the stage. We kept waiting for the floor to go out underneath us because when the crowd would all pogo
Bounce.
together, I'm like looking for a rail I can grab. So when the floor finally goes, like, a sinkhole, I'm going to be able to like support myself and not die.
I think the best of all of them, like the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, could make that room pop like nobody's business.
I remember the DRI show, actually. I'm looking to my right now, and I've got a DRI sticker on my cash register at my shop. And I remember at the end of the night walking down there, and it was somebody associated with the band doing merch. It's not like you hired somebody to do merch. It was those guys. And I remember looking at one of their hats, and I'm like trying to like fingernail off their name. And the guy's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I got to tell you, I love your logo. You have the best logo out there, but I'm not really a big fan of your band. So I'm trying to figure out if I can unstitch your name off the hat. and I got,
you just wanted the skater dude?
Oh, completely. Yeah. It's just the best. It's the best logo. And yeah, I was able to unstitch it after he told me to buy the fucking hat or not.
Too funny. Whether you're watching TV and you see the Nuggets playing or the Avalanche playing and it's carried on ESPN or a national network, it's great to get to see you every once in a while for a split second, like running by, because I see you on TV almost as much as I see your Facebook feed. It's just like, it's a cool thing. Like the Nuggets are playing, there's a score update, there's the bench, and like, oh, there's Mike.
I've been doing Nuggets games since '88, and I love it. I was trying to figure out whether my first show was a Nuggets playoff game or whether it was David Lee Roth and Steve Vai at McNichols, and I can't figure it out which one came first. But right now, one of the things I get to do is when there's a timeout, I get to be the eunuch who stands on the floor to the side of the referees facing the Nuggets. And it's not like the Nuggets are going to rush over and do anything. But I get there and I'll be on the floor and they'll pan over and I can tell I'm on TV because my phone's like just going crazy. Hey, I see you. You're on TV. And like, I can't really whip out my phone and be like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I'll check you later or record
the exact
this.
opposite thing you're supposed to be doing while you're working, looking at your phone while on TV.
Yeah, well, now I've got a watch, the smartwatch. So if you see me glancing at my watch, you know that I know what's going on. There are these 2 ladies who sit behind the scorer's table, and it's their entire job in life to make me laugh one time during a timeout. I get that Mike, you know what day it is, and they've actually been far more creative than that. But I got to keep the palace guard face when I'm out there on the floor.
We'd be remiss not to talk about security's actually your love and second gig, but your first love is your card store. You've got your own card store in Denver, and it's one of the bigger, better card stores.
Yeah, I've got 2 jobs that I want to get drunk and take home with me every night. I've never worked a day in my life. All right, okay, some stadium shows have been work, but but I don't work. I get to come out to my store and hang out. It's kind of like Cheers with sports cards, and well, there's beer in the back, but we don't talk about that. And then at night, I get to cut out of here and go work shows.
But you legitimately have Mickey Mantle cards going through here all the time. Like, you got cool shit. That stuff's awesome. I picked up some really cool cards from you in the past. They're the things that you don't expect people to have.
Sports cards are kind of like, it's almost like porn, where there's so many people who do it, but people don't talk about it. It's almost like they're embarrassed to talk about some childhood thing. And it's fun. I get to, it's interesting now. A lot of the people who, because I've had the shop since December of 92, a lot of the people who were the kids coming in here now have kids, and they're bringing their kids in to collect. So it's fun to see the next gen.
I've never compared sports cards to porn before, but you are the expert, and I will take your word. Man, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us at Promoter 101.
Wow, I made the cut. This is a big honor. You talk about the top 5. This is going to make it now.
Oh, awesome. The great Mike Fruitman. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Dan.
I've known Fruitman since I was in middle school. My dad took me to McNichol Sports Arena to see shows like Motley Crue and the Dr. Feelgood Tour, and Mike was always the guy that was right up front, making sure that nothing got out of hand. It's always been feeling comfortable knowing he was right there behind the barricades and up front courtside. He is the gold standard of security in today's concert world.
Hi, I'm Holly Gleason, editor of Woman Walk the Line, here at Promoter 101, where they know how to get it done.
Hey, if you want to reach out to us, send us an email to steiny@promoter101.net.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in to the 7th day of Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas. We hope you enjoyed the interview with our friend Mike Fruitman. And again, if you're just tuning in every day for the next 5 days, we're going to continue to bring you a single featured guest each day as a way to keep that fix in over the holidays, our gift to you. So tune in tomorrow. It's day 8 of Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas to see who the next featured guest will be.
Till then, we're wishing you sold out shows, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Frank Wing, APA, Nashville, Promoter 101.
Let's have some fun!
Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba.